Jessica Montgomery wasn't flashy. She wasn't loud. She didn't come from power, money, or privilege. But what she did come from was heart. The kind of heart that shows up early to work, stays late to help, and still remembers every kid's birthday, even the quiet ones in the back row. She was an elementary school teacher. She had dreams not of yachts or pearls or dinner galas, but of classroom libraries and kids who believed they mattered. So when she married into the Montgomery family, she thought love would be enough. But in a family built on legacy, appearances, and social capital, a woman like Jessica, she didn't belong. Not really. She didn't wear the right designers, didn't drink the right wine, didn't say the right things. At family dinners, she was invisible in plain sight. Her ideas were waved off with a polite smile. Her job teaching was treated as a sweet hobby, not a career. And her middle-class background, a detail they never mentioned but never forgot. Jessica never said much, not because she didn't have anything to say, but because when you're around people who only speak in status and silence, your words start to feel like whispers in a storm. Still, she tried. She laughed when the jokes were cruel. She nodded when she wanted to speak up. She bit her tongue so often it felt like a part of her, not for herself, but for her husband, Michael. The one person in the Montgomery family who actually saw her, who held her hand under the table, who whispered, "I'm sorry," with his eyes. Jessica didn't want power. She just wanted peace, a place to breathe, a place to be enough. But in a house full of wealth, she was still the poorest person in the room, not in money, in how much her presence was valued. And that was the beginning of everything. It started with a phone call. "Jessica, darling." Eleanor's voice purred through the line, smooth as silk and just as cold. "We're leaving for Hawaii this weekend, the whole family, and we need you to stay at the house and watch Lily." It wasn't really a question. It never was with Eleanor Montgomery. Jessica held the phone, blinking at the absurdity. Watch Lily? The Lily who couldn't walk, couldn't speak, couldn't even blink on command? "She's very low maintenance," Eleanor added breezily. "You won't need to do much. Just keep her schedule, her medications. We've let the nurses go, too unreliable." Jessica's heart sank. Another decision made without her consent. Another favor demanded, wrapped in the pretty paper of family obligation. She looked at Michael, who gave her that guilty smile, the one that always came after he'd already said yes. "Babe, it's just for 2 weeks," he shrugged. "We'll stay in the guest suite." "My mom said Dad can even talk to your school superintendent about time off." Jessica said nothing. Because what could she say? No one ever asked her. They just informed her. So she packed her bags and moved into the Montgomery estate for 2 weeks with a girl no one seemed to love, but everyone insisted on keeping. Lily was waiting by the window when they arrived. She didn't move, didn't flinch, didn't even look up. She sat stiffly in her specialized wheelchair, hands folded in her lap, her gaze fixed on nothing. Jessica had never seen a child so still, so silent, so absent. Her skin was pale, her frame too small for her age, her eyes dull but strange, as if something was still in there, watching. Amanda Lily's mother brushed past her daughter with barely a glance. "She needs meds 3 times a day," Amanda said, tossing a binder onto the table. "It's all in there. Just don't miss a dose." "She gets difficult." Difficult, Jessica wanted to ask. How could a child who didn't move, didn't speak, didn't even cry be difficult? She didn't ask, because in the Montgomery family, questions were rude, and silence was tradition. The sound of the front door closing echoed through the marble halls. The cars pulled away. The house fell still. And for the first time in days, Jessica was alone with Lily. She exhaled. Finally, no more passive-aggressive comments. No more icy stares over dinner. Just silence. She wheeled Lily into the living room, settled her in front of a cartoon show, just like the care binder instructed, and headed into the kitchen to cook. She wasn't sure what to say to Lily. The girl never responded. But still, it felt wrong to say nothing at all. "I'll be in the kitchen, sweetheart," she said gently. "If you need anything, just holler." She said it with a small smile, half-hearted, a joke for herself. Because, of course, Lily didn't talk. Lily didn't walk. Lily didn't holler. But 5 minutes later, she did something no one could have predicted. Jessica was stirring pasta sauce when she felt it. A shift, a presence, like the air had changed behind her. She turned around and froze. Lily was standing. No wheelchair, no assistance, no trembling hands or blank stare. Just standing by the kitchen doorway, small fingers gripping the frame. Her legs were shaky, her eyes wide. But her voice, clear, measured, terrified. "They want my 4 million, she said. "Please help me." Jessica dropped the wooden spoon. Jessica knelt slowly, eye level with Lily. She didn't dare move too fast, didn't want to scare the moment away. She looked into those wide brown eyes, the same ones she'd seen so many times before, but never like this, never awake like this. "Lily?" Jessica whispered, her voice barely audible. "You can talk?" The little girl nodded, once, carefully. As if even that might get her punished. "I wasn't born like this," Lily said. Then the dam broke. She spoke softly, in broken but beautiful fragments, of playgrounds, of singing Twinkle, Twinkle to her dolls, of giggling in her grandmother's garden, chasing butterflies with her bare feet. "I used to run," she said. "I used to talk, all the time." Jessica listened, hands trembling. "What happened?" she asked gently. Lily's face fell. "When Granny and Pops died," she whispered, "the talking stopped." Her maternal grandparents, people Jessica had barely heard mentioned, had died in a car crash when Lily was 3. "They loved me," Lily said. "Granny used to braid my hair. Pops called me his little chief." Jessica smiled through tears, but Lily's face hardened. "When they died, Mommy got money, but not all of it. The rest was for me, when I grow up." Her eyes flickered, voice cracking. "Then she started giving me the medicine." Jessica's stomach turned. "It made me sleepy and slow, and my body didn't work right anymore." She paused, her voice going hollow. "And when I talked too much, Mommy pinched me, hard, or locked me in the closet, in the dark." Jessica's throat tightened. She'd been living in the same house as this child for days, watching her, feeding her, believing the lie. And all this time, Lily had been trapped in silence, not by disability, but by design. Lily's voice grew quieter, like every word carried the risk of punishment. She wrapped her arms around herself as she spoke. Her little body tensed, like she was bracing for impact, but she still told the truth. After Granny and Pops died, Mommy said the money would make everything better. Her eyes dropped to the floor. But she also said I needed to be quiet. I needed to stop moving. That's when the pills began. "They taste sweet, like syrup," Lily said, "but they make my head fuzzy, my arms heavy, my eyes want to sleep." Jessica leaned in, horrified. "How long have you been taking them?" Lily didn't answer. Instead, she pointed to the white binder Amanda had left on the counter. "Since before I turned 4. But sometimes," Lily continued, "I didn't want to take them." Jessica nodded slowly. "What happened when you didn't?" Lily looked up. Her voice was barely a breath. "She pinched me, really hard, on my arm or my leg. If I still didn't take them, she'd lock me in the closet, in the dark, and she wouldn't open it until I was crying, or quiet." Jessica's hands curled into fists at her sides. The Montgomerys hadn't just medicated Lily, they had conditioned her, like a dog. Punish when she moved, reward when she obeyed. The child Jessica thought was broken wasn't broken at all. She had been shaped into silence, trained in fear, and all of it, every pill, every bruise, every night in the dark, wasn't about illness. It was about money. Jessica had never seen a child so small hide so much. "Do you trust me?" she asked Lily that evening. Lily nodded, eyes shining with something Jessica hadn't seen before: agency. Then, without a word, Lily took her hand and led her down the long corridor to her bedroom. Not the guest room, not the one with soft sheets and butterfly decals, the other room. The one with rubber sheets, locked cabinets, and hospital-grade silence. She reached beneath the mattress far back and pulled out a tattered pink notebook. Then a second item, a bundle of folded documents tied together with a hair tie. "This is my diary," Lily said quietly. "I write when no one's watching." The notebook was a miracle of resistance. Handwriting, small but determined, pages packed with thoughts, memories, truths. Entries like, "Mommy told the doctor I don't walk. But I walked to the kitchen when she was gone. I heard Grandpa say, 'I'll never get the money.' I hide things under my bed because I'm not dumb." Jessica turned the pages, each one a stab to the heart. In the bundle of documents were photocopies Lily had taken quietly, patiently from Amanda's office. Bank statements, legal forms, a scanned trust agreement with Lily's name on it. Emails printed from Amanda's inbox, plans to manipulate evaluations, payments to private specialists, and phrases like, "We'll say she's regressing. The less she moves, the better for the case." Jessica's hands shook. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a scheme, cold, calculated, and years in the making. Then Lily pointed up. "Sometimes they watch me," she said. Jessica followed her finger to the upper corner of the room, so small she'd never have noticed. There it was. A tiny black surveillance camera. Blinking. Watching. Jessica stepped back. Lily hadn't just been silenced. She had been surveilled. Not a patient. Not a child. A prisoner. Jessica stayed up all night reading. Page after page, document after document. Lily had kept it all carefully, fearfully, obsessively. And when Jessica reached the trust agreement, her hands began to shake. The numbers were clear. The intentions were clearer. Lily's maternal grandparents hadn't just left Amanda money after their death. They had created 2 trusts. One for Amanda, available immediately. One for Lily, $4 million, locked until she turned 18 if she was deemed mentally competent to manage it. Jessica's breath caught. That was the first layer, the obvious one. But then she found the letter. It had been slipped into the back of a folder marked Legal, Blackwell Estate. 1 page. Handwritten. Yellowed with time. It was addressed not to Amanda, but to Lily, for Lily to be opened on your 18th birthday. It was signed by her grandfather, William Blackwell. Jessica read every line. "Sweetheart, if you're reading this, it means you've grown into a young woman. There is another trust, one your mother may not know about. It contains the full remainder of our estate. Nearly $50 million from the sale of our oil holdings. You will inherit it at age 25 only if you are of sound mind and legally independent." Jessica's eyes widened. This wasn't just about $4 million, it was about a long game. Amanda didn't just want control of Lily's money now, she wanted to control Lily's legal status permanently so Lily could never gain access to the future fortune. And suddenly, everything made sense. The drugs, the medical records, the incompetent label. It wasn't just abuse, it was a business plan. It wasn't just Amanda. Jessica realized it when she saw the signatures. Robert's, Eleanor's, Amanda's, all over the paperwork, bank transfers, medical affidavits, school withdrawal forms. 3 names, 1 mission: make Lily legally invisible. Jessica's stomach turned. This wasn't abuse from a broken mother. This was a multi-generational operation. Robert Montgomery's father had spent decades in corporate law. Eleanor, his wife, ran a nonprofit for special needs families. Amanda Lily's mother had studied behavioral psychology. Together, they knew exactly how to write a false diagnosis, how to get doctors to sign, how to forge progress reports, how to control everything. And they had. For 5 years, they slowly erased Lily on paper, in public, in court. They painted her as a sweet but damaged girl, too fragile, too simple to inherit anything. Behind closed doors, she was punished for asking questions, drugged when she spoke up, isolated for trying to learn. Jessica whispered to herself, "They didn't raise Lily, they contained her." She looked at Michael, her husband. He had always seemed distant from Lily, but had he known? The camera, the drugs, the files? Had he been fooled, or was he part of it? That question hung in the air like smoke, suffocating unanswered. Jessica couldn't sleep, couldn't breathe. She needed help, fast, but not just anyone. She picked up her phone and called the one person who had always told her to trust her instincts, Lauren Bishop, her college roommate, now a top attorney in child welfare law. "Lauren, I think they're faking Lily's disability, for money, for millions." There was a pause. Then Lauren's voice turned razor sharp. "Don't say another word. Start documenting everything. I'm coming over." Within hours, Lauren arrived. They worked in silence, like surgeons in an operating room. Jessica printed copies of everything Lily had hidden. Lauren took pictures, time-stamped them, and labeled them legally. They whispered as they recorded voice memos. They took photos of the pill bottles, the fake medical forms, the bruises, the journals. Lauren brought a portable scanner. Everything went on an encrypted drive. Everything had a backup. "Chain of evidence," she said. "They're going to come for her soon." And she was right. Just before dawn, Jessica checked Amanda's office. A file was left open on the desk. Jessica's heart pounded as she skimmed it. It was a petition, filed quietly with a family court judge without informing Jessica or Michael. Amanda had already set a psychiatric evaluation for Lily next week. The document was chilling. "We believe the minor child exhibits long-term cognitive delays that require permanent conservatorship. We request full legal guardianship be transferred to the maternal family." Jessica dropped the paper. They weren't just stealing Lily's past, they were preparing to erase her entire future. Jessica was sitting at the kitchen table copying files onto Lauren's encrypted drive. Lily was curled up on the couch, finally asleep, without sedatives for the first time in years. Then, the front door clicked. Jessica froze. A key turned in the lock. The clock on the wall read 3:07 a.m. From the hallway, Lily opened her eyes and whispered without emotion, "They always come home early to check if I'm still pretending well enough." Footsteps. Voices, laughter that sounded rehearsed, the kind of laughter that follows a lie. Jessica quickly slid the drive under a floorboard. Lauren whispered from the guest room, "Stall them. Don't let them into Lily's room." Amanda's heels tapped down the hallway first, then Robert. Then Eleanor. They looked too calm, too polished for people who had supposedly been on a delayed flight. Amanda smiled. "What a surprise, huh?" she said, locking eyes with Jessica. "We just missed her too much." Jessica didn't respond. Behind her, Lily stood in the doorway, barefoot, staring. The game had just changed, and everyone in the house knew it. The air was so still it almost hummed. Jessica was still standing near the kitchen. Lauren was out of sight. Amanda had just kicked off her heels when a voice broke the silence. Clear, young, steady. "Hi, Mom. I feel better now." Everyone froze. Amanda's body stiffened like she'd been slapped. Robert turned his head slowly. Eleanor dropped the keys in her hand. There at the top of the stairs stood Lily. No wheelchair, no slurred words, no confusion. She was standing, balanced, calm, eyes clear. She repeated it louder this time. "I feel much better now." The only sound was the hum of the refrigerator. Amanda blinked. Once, twice, then her voice cracked. "What is this?" But nobody answered her, because for the first time in her life, Lily wasn't scared. She didn't stutter, she didn't shake. And everyone in that room knew the lie had just shattered. Amanda didn't speak. She screamed. "You sit down right now!" She lunged at Lily, a white pill bottle already in hand, the same bottle Lily had hidden the day before. Lily backed up. Jessica stepped in. "Don't touch her," Jessica said, low and clear. Amanda turned on Jessica like a storm. "You think this is your house? You think you know this child better than her own mother?" Jessica didn't move. She didn't blink. From behind, Robert stormed into the hallway, his voice booming. "You need to leave now. You're trespassing. I'll have your license pulled. I'll end your teaching career." Jessica turned slowly to face him. "I already called the police," she said calmly, "and my lawyer is standing outside the door." Silence. Tension so thick it could cut glass. Eleanor stepped back. Amanda froze mid-breath. Robert blinked in disbelief. Then, ding-dong, the doorbell, a long, deliberate ring, like a verdict. Jessica didn't move. Lily reached out and grabbed her hand, small, firm, unshaking. Robert opened the door. Standing there, 2 uniformed officers, and next to them, Lauren Bishop. Holding a leather case and a look that said, "It's over," Robert's face lost color. His hand trembled on the doorknob. Cut to black. The room was small, quiet. 2 chairs, 1 desk. A glass of water untouched. Jessica sat by the door watching. A CPS worker sat beside Lily, a detective across from her. Notebooks open, pens ready. But no one said a word until Lily took a deep breath. "They gave me pills. Every morning and night. They said it was for my brain. But it made me sleepy and slow." The CPS worker leaned in gently. Lily continued, her voice shaking but steady. "They didn't let me read, or write, or walk. If I tried, they yelled. If I talked, they locked me in the dark." Jessica's hands clenched. Lily wiped her eyes, but she didn't stop. "I heard them talk about the money. 4 million, then 50. They said I had to be broken, like a broken doll, or else they'd lose everything." The detective asked, "Did they ever hurt you?" Lily nodded. "Only when I tried to remember who I was." Silence filled the room again, but this time it wasn't fear. It was the beginning of Lily finally being believed. Inside the hallway of the estate, chaos brews. Amanda paces, mascara running, breathing fast. Officers are gathering statements. Jessica is holding Lily's hand. Then Amanda screams, "You want the truth? Fine." Everyone freezes. She points a shaking hand at Robert. "It was him. My father made the plan. He said we'd lose the inheritance if Lily passed those assessments. I just followed what he said." The room turns. Robert doesn't flinch. Amanda sobs uncontrollably. "I didn't want to do it, but he said she'd forget everything, that the pills were safe, that she wouldn't feel anything." Detective Morris steps in. "Ma'am, are you confessing to long-term child abuse and fraudulent inheritance obstruction?" Amanda nods, tears falling like rain. Yes, yes, I didn't know it'd go this far. Robert scoffs, steps forward, cool, arrogant. Let's make this go away. I'll make it worth your time. He slides a check from his pocket. Officer Handley grabs his wrist. That's attempted bribery of a law enforcement officer. Handcuffs click. Robert's eyes widen, his power shattered. Amanda drops to her knees, whispering, I never wanted to be like them. Jessica looks down at Lily. Lily squeezes her hand tighter. Michael stood frozen near the staircase, his tie undone, shirt wrinkled, face pale. He had just landed an hour ago, cut his trip short after Jessica's call. But even now, part of him wanted to believe it was all a misunderstanding, that his family wasn't evil. Then Lily stepped toward him, slowly, unafraid. She looked straight into his eyes. Not as a victim, but as a child who had waited years for someone to see her. They told you I was broken, she said softly, but I wasn't. You just didn't look close enough. Michael's lips trembled. He turned to Jessica, his wife, who had stood alone against his whole family. And in a voice cracked by guilt, he whispered, I've been blind for too long. Jessica nodded, eyes red but steady. That afternoon, CPS agents handed them temporary custody of Lily. Lauren stood beside them, signing the final forms. As they stepped outside, Lily reached up and took Jessica's hand. So I'm free now, right? She asked, her voice a mix of hope and disbelief. Jessica bent down, eyes brimming. Yes, sweetheart, you're finally free. For the first time in years, Lily didn't wake up to the sound of pills being crushed or footsteps pacing outside her door. She woke up to pancakes, to the smell of syrup, to Jessica humming an off-key lullaby while flipping breakfast. The sun didn't feel like surveillance anymore. It felt like morning. Jessica bought her notebooks, each with a different pastel color. Lily picked purple, then changed to mint green, then back to purple. She wasn't sure why. She just liked having a choice. At lunch, Jessica asked, What would you like to eat? Lily froze. I can pick? Yes, sweetheart, anything. She whispered shyly, Mac and cheese, but with bacon and extra crispy on top. Jessica laughed, coming right up. That afternoon, they painted toenails and practiced spelling elephant and freedom. Lily didn't speak much, but she smiled more. And that night, as Jessica tucked her in, Lily whispered, I'm in 3rd grade again, right? Jessica kissed her forehead. No, Lily, you're in life again. Jessica never meant to be a mother, not like this. When she agreed to watch Lily for a week, she thought it would be babysitting a quiet favor to keep peace with her in-laws. But now, every time Lily said, Look what I can do, Jessica's heart skipped a beat. When Lily spelled her name without help, Jessica cried in the laundry room so Lily wouldn't see. She taught Lily to tie her shoes again, to stand tall when she read out loud, to raise her hand and say, I don't understand, without shame, without fear. But what Jessica didn't expect was that she was also healing. The woman who was once invisible at family dinners, the teacher whose voice no one valued, now had a child who looked at her like she was everything. One night, Lily said softly, You're not like the others. Jessica paused. Is that good? Lily nodded. It means you're safe. Jessica held her tight. In that moment, she knew. She wasn't just watching Lily anymore. She was loving her. It started with one child. One voice that was never supposed to be heard. But when Lily stood up, her story echoed louder than anyone expected. Lauren, the lawyer, who helped expose the truth, looked Jessica in the eyes one night and said, What if we could help more kids like her? Jessica didn't hesitate. And so the Lily Project was born. A nonprofit, a hotline, a legal team, a network of counselors and doctors who knew what abuse could look like, even when it wore a smile. They launched the website. And within 48 hours, emails poured in. Parents, teachers, even a nurse from another state. I have a child patient. Her story sounds just like Lily's. My niece is on medications she doesn't need. How do I report a family I suspect is using their kid's trust fund? The world was listening. And Lily, she chose the logo herself, a small flower growing through a crack in concrete, because she knew something now. Even in silence, a seed can grow into a voice that saves others. The courtroom was silent. Not the kind of silence filled with fear, but the kind that waits for something sacred. Lily sat beside Jessica and Michael, her small hand in theirs. Across the aisle, Amanda stared blankly ahead. Robert clenched his jaw, refusing to meet anyone's eyes. Eleanor, she didn't show up. The judge cleared his throat. In light of the evidence presented, this court hereby grants full legal guardianship of Lily Montgomery to Jessica and Michael Montgomery. Jessica held her breath. Then Lily looked up at her and whispered, "So I'm really safe now?" Jessica nodded. Michael blinked away tears. The courtroom sighed. The weight of 5 years lifted. Amanda was immediately taken into custody. Robert was placed under federal indictment for fraud, abuse, and obstruction of justice, and Eleanor's name disappeared from the family charity board the next morning. But none of that mattered most. Because for the first time, Lily left the courtroom not as a victim, not as someone's pawn, but as a child with her voice and a future that belonged to her. She ran out the front doors into the sunlight, and no one stopped her. Let's pretend for a second. You're alone in a house. The child you thought was mute suddenly turns to you and says, "They're going to hurt me if you don't help." What would you do? Would you believe her? Would you listen when no one else ever did? Would you risk everything to protect someone no one else wanted to protect? Jessica did. Not because she was fearless, not because she had power, but because she chose to be the one who said, "Enough." And now the question is yours. Would you be brave enough to do the same? Sometimes the bravest person in a story isn't the one who fights, isn't the one who runs, isn't the one who stands in court. Sometimes the bravest person is the one who simply chooses to listen, to see what others refuse to see, to hear what others dismissed. At Through Her Eyes, we believe stories like Lily's are not just rare, they are hidden, not because they don't happen, but because too few people are willing to listen. But you listened. And maybe, just maybe, that's how change begins. Not every cry for help is loud. Not every battle is visible. Sometimes a child doesn't need a superhero, just someone who says, "I believe you." Lily's story reminds us that silence doesn't always mean safety, and looking the other way is never kindness. So ask, listen, believe. Because one person willing to listen can become the reason someone survives. At Through Her Eyes, we tell stories the world often ignores, but change starts with someone who listens and someone who shatters. Bell. Hit subscribe and turn on the bell if you believe in truth, healing, and protecting the vulnerable. P. Let's create a world where no child's voice is ever silenced again.